Welcome to Atma Bodha. This is a lovely text that will get us into thinking, into inquiring, into lots of discussion. I have prepared some questions for every verse, and I will get us to pair up after every verse to make sure that about 3 questions per verse, to make sure that you have concretely understood, thereby opening up space for more questions if something is not certain. So this will be a lot of interaction together. There's no chance for listening, because listening tends to give us a impression that we are understanding it well. But the real test comes when you're presented a question and then you're required to paraphrase in your own words, and thereby this will be an intensive class. Verse 1, Atma Bodha. Tapo bhihi kshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshaha ayam Atma Bodha vidhiyate. So the first verse is a verse about, if you read it carefully, it's really a verse about what's required to learn. And if you think about before approaching any text, there has to be some idea, some direction. What is this text about that I'm going to study? What will it do for me? What do I even want? And can this text even answer what I want? So what the Vedas has done is they present you a model and they say, wait, before even approaching any material, doesn't matter, Atma Bodha, anything, ask yourself the question, is this even for me? Why do I even want this? It wants to help us put ourselves in the right mindset. Now, in Sanskrit, right, you don't have to remember the Sanskrit, but we call this, for those of us who do know, is Anubandha Chatushtaya. Bandha. See, before I write this down, what does this mean in English? Because English is, right, we all understand. It just means 4-fold ticks that you need to recognize, to tick in your head in order to have maximum impact in learning. So this means that by going through these 4 ticks, tick, 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 what will happen? You'll be much more prone, much more receptive to the knowledge. You'll be much in a right mindset. Therefore, Anubandha Chatushtaya puts us in the right mindset for the text. Okay, 4-fold. I'll just say ticks. Ticks for learning. Nowadays, we've got, of course, many more sophisticated methods, right? We've got memory techniques, we've got mind maps, we've got discussions, we've got AI. So nowadays, we've got a lot more sophisticated methods than these 4-fold. But the beauty of this is they are always true. Thereby, we can apply it to this text. Now, the first one is you have to understand who is even ready for this text. For example, if we take a high school student and we put them into a physics class, are they going to be ready? No. So if the student has a certain idea that, I'm clever, it doesn't matter. The physics class doesn't care about this. The physics class cannot adjust to the high school student. It's too far. The gap is too far. Therefore, the first one is who is qualified, who is ready for this text. And we call this in Sanskrit adhikari. Adhikari. So I'll just put in English person who is ready. Okay? A ready person. Now, the person who is ready, we call a mumukshu. A mumukshu. Now, what is a mumukshu? A mumukshu is a person that's recognized that There are certain qualities of life, and they're all wonderful. There is food, there is IT, there is dance, there is singing, there is being entrepreneur, there is being a teacher, there is, give me other professions that, on top of your head. Professor, there is not nurse, plumber, nurse, doctor, hospitality, right? And they're all wonderful things, right? Because we need these people. You need teachers, I need doctors, I need students, so we all need each other. We can all agree with this. Now, what happens is, through the course of time, this mumukshu, I'll write down, mumukshu. So we'll call this a seeker, a beginner seeker. By the way, I'm not calling us beginner seekers, I'm just taking us through the whole journey, and that's all going to connect together. So this seeker recognizes that I have gotten security in my life. I've got a family, I've got children, I've got work, I've got spouse, I've got everything I need. I've got pleasures of life, delights, children are there, friends are there. I've got ethics, I'm doing the right thing. I'm following the rules, I'm being a good person. I'm serving my community, right? I'm offering myself wherever I need to be. These are all wonderful things. But then the mumukshu recognizes that they are all, in a sense, limiting. Right? They don't really give me what I'm seeking. There's something more than all of this. I've tried so many things in my life. I'm relatively qualified, a ready person. I'm not running away from the world. The mumukshu is not running away from the world. The mumukshu is in the world. They're confronting challenges. They're doing all of these ordinary things, but they recognize something is missing because I'm still seeking. Thereby, I haven't really found a solution. Because as long as there's seeking, as long as there's this angst, this agitation, it's an indicator, Ishvara's indicator, that something is not fully complete. Something's missing. So this is how Ishvara shows us that there is something yet to be done. There is more work to be done. And if we are sensitive enough, we will capture this feeling, and we will do something about it. Mumukshu does something about it. There's a lot of people who also are very successful, like my parents. They have very much, I'm grateful for them for, teaching me business, teaching me life. But I look at their life and I say, Mom, Dad, you got everything. You've got 2 cars, you've got the big house by the beach. Do you ever wonder about God? Yeah, we wonder about God, son. And then I give him a lecture, 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes later, how's business, son? Dad, Mom, I finished that 10 years ago. See? So I communicated to them this message many times. They have everything, doesn't capture. So they're not a mumukshu yet. So what is that little spark that grabs you? And you say, no, I'm not letting it go. I want to pursue this solution. Now, mumukshu doesn't know what the solution is, but they know that I haven't found a solution. Thereby, what do? They don't know the connection between knowledge and their spiritual search. Thereby, what does a mumukshu do? They do anything. Thereby they go into actions, they go into aura cleansing, chakra balancing, they go into yoga, they go into chanting, singing, sound healing. We're all familiar with this, hopefully. Because there's this idea that something will solve this inner agitation of non-completion. I don't know what it will be, but it has to be something. And thereby the mumukshu doesn't stop. This drives them. Now, very interesting is that one time I've got an email. In fact, I get emails often. And I'll tell you who is not a mumukshu. Okay, they are a mumukshu, but I want to show you what it means not to know the connection between what I'm seeking and knowledge. So they said to me, hey, Andre, they emailed me. They said, Andre, what is the purpose of the chakras? It's a common language, right, from the yoga world. They want to know what's the chakras. And I said to them, first question is, can you please define chakra? Because your understanding can be different from mine. Otherwise, we're on a different page. And they said, chakras are, actually they said, quote, they said, only, I've done my research, Andre, only a enlightened master who has a siddhi is a power, of Akasha Tattva, that means Akasha space, some Akasha, I don't know what Akasha Tattva is, can awaken your Kundalini and thereby give you moksha. Nobody else. Now, I said to him, I'm just going to share what I know as a teacher. I'm going to say the solution is not action, because I know you want to apply some action. You want someone to give you kind of moksha, right? Some Shaktipat or something. I said the only solution according to the Upanishads, is what we're studying now, is knowledge. Because the problem is you are already limitless. And it's not a matter of producing limitlessness, it's a matter of discovering it. And thereby no amount of action is going to produce it, because it's already infinite. You're already infinite, so how can you make yourself more infinite? According to the Upanishads, only self-knowledge can solve the problem. And he said to me, reply, Andre, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Only an enlightened master from a different loka can give you moksha and nothing else. And if you do the research, you will come to the same conclusion. I didn't reply because the gap is too large. You see? So they are a mumukshu, but are they a adhikari? You see this? So this is the journey of discovering, and layers of layers start to peel off. Now, the question is, who is eligible according to the verse? The answer is one who practices tapas, tapo bihi. Now, the word tapas is common word in the Veda. We often think it's, this, self-restraint, painful self-restraint. Actually, what tapas means is having discipline to hold yourself back from unhealthy behaviors. It's not easy, but it's a discipline. Therefore, tapas is self-mastery of the mind. Self-mastery of mind. Self-mastery. Okay? Now, the question is, what does self-mastery involve? And I printed out some good points. They come from modern psychology. I like to refer to modern psychology because our research is great at mind management. Okay? And I want to share some of them with you. And the first one is what we call imposing expectations. Imposing expectations on people. What do you think this means? Imposing expectations.
That you want them to behave in a certain way.
Yeah,
you want them to be in a certain way.
Yeah, you want them to be in a certain way. In other words, you want to impose your needs. You want a person to fulfill your needs according to what you prefer. Now the question is, can anyone fulfill all of your needs? Will it ever be true that a person can ever, every one of them? It's not possible. In fact, it puts pressure on the person. it makes them less than who they are. It doesn't allow them to be who they are. So in a partnership situation, if one wants the other to fulfill their needs, such as I want you to be I want you to connect with me intellectually or emotionally, suppose the other person is more intellectual and the other one's more emotional. Now, if they both start to demand each other's thing, then it's not going to work out very well. So this means the person has to ask themselves, what needs can you fulfill for me that are healthy for me? And what needs can I fulfill for you that are healthy for you? And they are my needs. They are the needs that I can fulfill. Don't ask me for needs that I can't fulfill. So you have to be clear, what is it that you can give to the other person, and what is it that you need from the other person? It has to be explicitly clear, because through time, the more this message becomes kind of diluted, it manifests as this kind of a passive-aggressive, imposing limitations, resentment, you can't do this for me, so why should I do this for you? And it turns out to be a rather, an unresolved, elephant in the room, imposing expectations. So the question is, with whom are you imposing expectations right now? Think about that. Think about that. And in what areas are you imposing expectations from the other person that you want them to secretly fulfill, and yet they're not capable of doing so? Think about that for a moment. And ask yourself, is it fair to keep demanding something they are incapable of fulfilling according to your standards? Okay, next one is assuming intentions. Assuming intentions. What does this mean? To assume intentions of someone.
It's actually like projection. Like you think something, and then you think the other will think it too.
Good. Okay. So an example is, suppose someone doesn't call you, they don't communicate with you for some time, and we start to assume that they have certain intentions. They want to break up with me, they want to, they're being unfair, they're ignoring me, they are not being honest. So we start to assume as if we know what they're thinking. Now what happens is when they finally come back home, then we are looking at them in the light of our assumptions. So what happens is now there's this unseen kind of air of resistance, and they feel this. Okay? So this means that we have to be, again, cautious. Where, in what areas am I assuming that I think I know, but I actually don't?
There's also intuition.
Intuition is also there, I agree. However, intuition is not always right, because intuition also uses your past and it makes some inferences, right? This happened in the past, so it's most likely going to happen right now. So intuition in Vedanta, we are very clear that intuition relies on your memory. So
You can also have intuition in the now.
you can have intuition in the now.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I'm saying this, intuition in the now also relies on some past experiences. Okay? Please think about this. Okay. So if we say, for example, I have an intuition that she's my soulmate, what happened now? Well, we broke up. Well, you were so sure. You had an intuition she was your soulmate 5 years ago, and you were so sure she was my twin flame. Now, broke up. And yet both of them had an intuition that they are meant for each other. This happens all the time. Okay? So I'm not disagreeing or agreeing, just asking you to think about these things. Okay.
Would this also mean being judgmental, assuming intentions?
Sorry?
Being judgmental, opinionated towards others?
That's another, right, thing to master. Being judgmental or opinionated towards...
Would this come under assuming intentions?
In a way, yeah, in a way, because it's sort of premature conclusions when we're being judgmental. We don't have the full facts, and then we say, I know, but really, you don't really know all the facts. Maybe I can give you an example. I mean, I don't have a clear example now, but I think there was a situation where there was me and my friend, and I just didn't communicate with them for some time because I was in my little, I was focused. I'm focused doing some work. And the friend thought, that I'm just sort of ignoring them, I'm totally disconnecting with them. And I told them explicitly, no, I'm just very focused. This is how I am. And I need to kind of tune out everything else. So, like that, right? I'm sure you probably have an example, but assuming intentions.
Misunderstanding it was. Misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding can be caused due to this. Now, we're not saying, you're to we're not blaming anyone. We all do this. Is anyone exempt from this? I'm not exempt from this either, right? So we're all human beings and we make these kinds of things. Okay. Next one is overvaluing possessions. Overvaluing possessions. That means giving too much value to something that you have. For example, I have Vedanta in my life. Now, it's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. But actually, life doesn't care what you have. Life is just flowing anyway. The laws are laws. The laws don't care if you have this or that. They will still bring you challenges in life and certain opportunities, and you have to be open enough to, right, deal with them objectively. So when we overvalue our relationships, like I have a partner, I'm a teacher, I've got association to this person, it's like, wait, just pause. So what? End of the day, we're all doing the best that we can. We're all playing our roles. There's no need to kind of blow it up in this huge thing. Because what happens is it's not going to last, number one. And number two, when they do something that's slightly off, then it's going to compromise your investment into that. Okay? So overvaluing possessions. Stereotyping. What is stereotyping? These are all modern psychological research, the most common patterns that we all play out. Stereotyping is where you look at something and you say, because you're a woman, you're not qualified for chanting. In fact, we had this in India, I tell you. And foreigners, forget about foreigners. Only male men can chant. So, stereotyping. You look too young, therefore you're not qualified. You're too old, therefore you're probably slow and not keeping up with the modern research. You're too kind of thin, you're too big or too whatever. You come from a certain country, therefore you don't have proper access to this knowledge. You don't belong here. So where are we putting people, if at all, into these groups and then disqualifying them from everything else? Okay. Next one is romanticizing situations. Romanticizing situations. So this is where you say, for example, moving to a new city will solve all my problems. Getting a new partner will solve all of my problems. Getting a house, moving inside that beautiful complex will solve all of my problems. But in reality, there's so much more than that. It's just going to be life as usual. So where am I romanticizing that if I get this, then everything will be great? That is not how life works. Life is going to continue coming. In fact, it's always coming. And thereby, we have to still deal with challenges like any other moment, despite. Okay? Then overgeneralizing. Overgeneralizing is when, would someone like to contribute? What is overgeneralizing for you?
Make things too simple.
Big things are
Make things too simple.
made too simple, and too simple things are made complex. Yeah. Okay. So good. Okay. And another example would be where my previous friend betrayed me, or was not honest, and thereby all friends are, I have to be careful. I'm skeptical. So we carry from past and we color in everything else in the present. Previous teacher neglected me or was not there for me. Therefore, all teachers are like that. Previous colleague. Therefore, all colleagues are like that. Overgeneralizing. Then projecting past experiences. Projecting past experiences. So again, this is, for example, being betrayed in a certain transaction, and now, right, we project that, we look for confirmation in the present, and we say, he or she is displaying that behavior that the previous person has displayed, they're most likely going to betray me. So then we create a narrative, and we start to build upon this narrative, and this whole story starts to grow and grow and grow. So we no longer see the person, we see our story becomes louder than what is in front of us. Because we are projecting the past onto them. We're projecting a lack of my understanding previously onto the present. So this means we have to give ourselves a chance. You grow, you evolve. You're not the same person like last year or 2 years ago. So we need to say, hey, I'm a new, fresh person. This is called life. A rose doesn't say, for example, I was beautiful last year. What's the point of being beautiful this year? Even though I can, what's the point? A rose innocently displays beauty every single year, and it blossoms with all its glory. It doesn't hold back. It's always fresh. The question is then, how can I then make myself like a rose, fresh to every new opportunity for the first time? It's possible. I believe it. The question is, do you believe it in yourself? This is a difference between doing the same thing for 20 years and then saying, I've got 20 years of experience, or doing different things for 20 years and saying, I've got 20 years of experience. They're two different things.
So it's important to be always, in any moment, open for learning.
Yes, open for learning. This is crucial, especially for us adults. So we adults, we tend to be slower in adjusting in some things. In some things we're sort of okay with. So this means we need to give ourselves a chance. Lord, give me the capacity, the strength and the resilience to be okay with situations, to accept the fullness of every situation, to see the opportunity, and to be with it. A little prayer is enough.
What you say about the way that you view the world according to your old experiences, it could be a very positive way as well. For example, if I've been giving money at charity, and it has an effect on me that I think, well, this is very nice, then it has a tendency to grow bigger and bigger.
Yes, yes.
Through the years, so it does not necessarily have to be a negative experience that you put on the other person. You can also trust the world better because you had a good experience in the past.
Got it. And I would like just to add to that. It's also interesting because there was research done, and they said that those who gave charity in the last 1 year are going to give 60% less charity when they are asked again, versus those who haven't given charity for some time. So this means what happens is, we call this in psychology moral licensing. And what this means is that you've done something good, right? And you say, and then you project that goodness onto the present. You say, no, I was good. I gave charity last year. So why should I now give charity? I'll just give 60% less because I was good last year. So now even that becomes a projection in the present. Projecting the past onto the present. We catch ourselves like this. There's so many things that we're kind of moved by.
When you say that you have said this prayer, Lord, give me strength and the resilience to be okay with all situations. Now, these all situations, suppose there are situations which are really not okay.
Yeah.
Still, these situations which are not okay, but we can't do anything about it. Still, we need to let them go and not let them ruminate within us in our heads. That this has happened, that this girl has been raped, and this guy was so bad, and whatever. The situation is not okay. How can I be okay with that situation?
Sure. So see, we take Krishna when he was negotiating with Duryodhana to ask for Indraprastha back. And he said to Duryodhana, give them back their Indraprastha. And he did 5-time negotiation, right? All the way from huge city into one village with 5 houses was a no. That's simple. It's a small piece of land to give you a single house with 5 rooms. It doesn't matter how small you go. Now, that's not okay. That's just, it's next level unfairness. Now, what did Krishna do when he walked out? I mean, I think there was a story where someone asked him, so Duryodhana was a little bit rude to you, he was not acknowledging you as the Lord of the universe, number one. Second of all, he was being completely unfair. What do you think about this, Krishna? And Krishna said to this other guy, he said, I walked in with an intention to make it easy for Duryodhana to do the right thing. I made it easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. He said no. That was his choice. I've done my part. I've done all I could. I had 5 chances. Now I let it go, because I cannot afford to internalize this thing into my mind. I've got many more important things to do. So this means once you have done what you've done, you ask yourself, have I done all I could? And you need to know that. Otherwise, you can just say, no, maybe there's something else. Maybe there's something else. Maybe there's one more thing. So you have to be firm. When have I done enough? Then make the right course of decision and move on. That's why we can have a relationship that lasts for years and is not working out. Because the man or the woman never said, hey, have I done enough? No, maybe there's some tomorrow. Maybe there's one more chance tomorrow. It's going on for years like this. So one has to make a decision and say, I have done enough. Let me not go into this whole false hope thing anymore. Choose to move on. It's like that. So we have to be firm. Okay, that's empathy, but also firmness simultaneously. I understand this whole, gentleness, let me just give them another chance, another chance, another chance. It wears you out. And you got a whole life ahead of you. So many doors to open. Ishwara is just presenting doors. And I'm like, no, but I want to just, I want my door over here. Close it, move on. And that takes courage. Because we find so much comfort in one door. Because of that memory that's been there and all of the good feelings attached to it. We find comfort in that. But if you think about it, all of the growth in your life has happened because You closed certain doors, and you were presented new opportunities. Ishvara showed you new paths, new people, new friends. And those painful moments in your life, is it not true they were the most beneficial? Yeah? The most painful moments were some of the most transformative. Demonizing others. So this is where if a person makes one little mistake, then we kind of make them into this, erroneous, incapable individual who never again deserves another chance. Who is really infallible in this world? Tell me. Who knows everything, never makes a mistake, and has knowledge and power that's infinite? Not one person. Not the guru, nor the student. Ishvara alone has all knowledge and all power. Therefore, when we sometimes see something, someone that's close to us, do something that is inappropriate, then there's this kind of a mind that wants to now project all sorts of dirty projections from the past, pain. All that pain starts to make this person into a demon inside the head. What's doing that? That unresolved pain that's still dwelling inside, yet to be expressed. And so relationships provide that platform when that stuff comes out. In fact, relationships are a beautiful platform for things to surface up. All that bottled up stuff to surface. And both individuals need to be very deliberate and mature to stay there and recognize this is our stuff coming up. We need that platform that keeps us together. Do we have that platform? What is that bottom platform that nothing can compromise? On top of that platform, things bottle up, surface up, keep on bottling up, surfacing up. But there's always that platform underneath. That's the purpose of the relationship, and how not to have these thoughts break these beautiful bonds apart. Not letting the mind turn them into a monster. Overestimating or underestimating importance of events. For example, you get a promotion at work, and now you overestimate. This means all my problems are resolved. Everything's going to be great. Life is now perfect. Or a new situation comes, whatever, right? New opportunity, and now you overestimate its importance. But actually, it's just a situation. Deal with it to the best of your ability. It doesn't mean things are now all wonderful. Things will still play out the way they've always been playing out. Or underestimating. What is this? Underestimating. For example, a teaching is presented to you, and you go, Atma Bodha. Okay? And yet Atma Bodha just wants to help us to recognize our truth. That my truth and Ishvara's truth is one. Therefore, sometimes we have to remind ourselves, hey, this is quite important. Let me listen. Okay. Now, we're still on tapas. This is all mastery of the mind. Then we have speech. So how do we master speech? See, speech is much easier to master than the thought, because it's evident to you. So this means that if you say to yourself, I want to be a little bit more deliberate in the way that I speak. I want to hear my words while they're coming out. That much is enough to master your speech. My question to you is, do you hear yourself when you're speaking? Do you hear every word that's coming out of your mouth? Now, the gap between a no, in some areas it's a yes, in some areas it's a no. That is your area to do a little bit more deliberation in. Slow down, pause, and continue speaking. Okay? Otherwise, our minds can sometimes just go trrrr, right, like that. It happens to all of us. When I was beginning to teach, I was speaking quite fast, and I learned through time to slow down. You see, happens to all of us. Thereby, if we say things like, I've got bad vibes about this person. This is speech. Is this really true? You've got bad vibes about this person. So to say this, if you think about it, it's a massive judgment that you're saying, I've got bad vibes about this person. So rather we can say something like, I feel uncomfortable about him or her. That's much better than saying, I've got bad vibes about this person. Like, what do you know about this person? We don't know how much charity they give, how much, they fell down, they got up, they've helped so many people, they're a son, they're a daughter of a mother and a father. They know what pain is, they know what suffering is, they've been treated unfairly, they've given so much. They're a lifelong student, they're practicing spirituality, they're doing all they can for themselves. They're a good wife, a good husband, a good student. And this person, I've got bad vibes about this person. Thereby slowing down and saying, why do I feel uncomfortable about him or her? What story am I telling myself? Where am I being triggered right now that's making me have this kind of an opinion about him or her? That's thinking. Do you agree? That requires thinking. In modern psychology, we call this operating from the amygdala, the fight or flight, or the midbrain, which is the midbrain is the fight or flight. The bottom brain, that's the earliest part of our brain, which is freeze. You freeze. And this happens when we sometimes get confronted. And the other person is talking, you got nothing to say. Where are you identified now? The earliest part of the brain. Okay. So in modern psychology, we say this, come back to your prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is the part that thinks, that analyzes. The newest part of the brain that is hardly used nowadays, or not used very much. Okay? That is a gift to use the prefrontal cortex. To re-identify with the midbrain, that's fight or flight, or the bottom one, we call that, I'm coming from my heart. I've seen this so many times, I tell you. And the person would then say, no, I was coming from the first thing, impulse. Where was that coming from? No thinking. Early. And it happens quite a bit. A teacher has seen quite a bit. And then later on, 5 months, 6 months, 10 months later, when you bring up the issue again, they say, maybe I was a little bit wrong, And most of the time they don't say that because it takes a lot of courage to admit that a person made a mistake. But you can feel that instant impulse. How else can you tell it? Because the person doesn't think very quickly. And yet they feel very quickly. In Vedanta, we make it very clear. Your thoughts guide your emotions, generally. So if I've got uneducated thoughts, I've got impulsive emotions, and then I call that wisdom. It's not wisdom. It's lack of guidance, of basic principles. Wait, let me pause. What's the implications of choosing this decision? What kind of consequences will it have in the future? Will those consequences be beneficial for me and this other person? That requires thought. Am I denying emotions? No. I'm saying working with your thoughts. Emotions and thoughts are having a handshake. Yes, let's work together. But it's never as quick as we want it to be. That requires time because we don't have all of the variables. So it's very easy to impulsively say, no, I don't want this. I don't want you anymore. Done. And then what happens? The intellect justifies that to make it okay. All of that is identifying with the midbrain or the lower region of the brain, according to modern psychology. This is tests, modern psychology tests. This is not my own words. This is studies. So thinking, as I said yesterday, Manushya, you're a thinking being. And we don't teach this in spirituality. What do we teach in spirituality nowadays for the most part? Which I don't even call spirituality, I call it, getting there.
Get rid of your mind.
Get rid of your mind. Don't think. Thoughtless. Feel into things. People love to feel because it's so basic, it doesn't require thought. And people then love this. I don't have to think. So let me just walk into a place where I don't have to think, where I'm getting confirmation bias from the teacher who's telling me just to feel into things. And people love this. And I would know this because I was in this journey myself, more like 20 years ago. So I know exactly what goes on in spirituality at these beginner stages. Feeling and hugging and usually put your hand on your heart. That's the common thing. I've been in all this. You have to grow up, grow up, grow up, grow up, grow up. That's the whole journey about. And people don't want to hear this because they're so comfortable with feeling things because it's so easy.
And also this Shakti path kind of thing they do. That is the easiest way.
Yeah, I've seen, and hugs or whatever. It's all part of the learning, of course. It's all a stage. It helps us a lot. But all I'm saying is one has to overcome this need to feel comfortable and stay in that little comfortable place of, let me just feel into things. We are talking about reality. The whole thing is you. That requires discernment. That requires some thought, which is what the Atma Bodha is going to give.
So what about the Guru's blessings which people talk about? Paramahansa, that book had come, na? Book has been published. Autobiography of Yogi.
Yeah.
When you read it, you get goosebumps that so many miracles have taken place because of the Guru. So what does Vedanta have? What is
Astral travel.
Astral travel, yes, astral travel. Like I was reading this book and at one point I thought of joining that Arand ashram only.
Yeah.
You can so fast. It's a quick road, just because the Guru is there and you are with the Guru. It's quick journey towards moksha. So it doesn't happen that way.
Luckily, I've been in this already. I got initiated into 5 of those lineages. Yogananda, one in Pune. It was called Siddhanath Gurunath. There was one Canada, Michael Govindam. There was one Yoga Kriya Yoga School in Australia. And there was one Mukherjee in Calcutta. 5 lineages I was doing for about 5 years, okay? 4 hours a day of those Yogananda schools. It was wonderful. It did so much purification of the mind, sattvic mind, we've heard this. And this is all yoga, the peak of yoga. You tell me, I'll do it. Stand on whatever posture for hours a day. It was about 10 or 12 hours of meditating per day. And it was a wonderful time of my life. Did it solve the problem? No. It just made the mind extremely pure and sattvic. So can we discard it? No. Are we saying it's useless? No. Is it a means? Yes. A means to an end? It is a means to an end. Therefore, nothing's really useless. Use it, but have that discernment to be able to switch out. For that, you need God's grace. Okay? We don't know how it happens. You got maybe punyam or something, but you eventually grow out. Because we've seen people, they haven't made any difference. They just remain like these feelers types. And some got out and they found some wonderful teachings like Vedanta, proper concrete teachings. Why is it? I don't really know, but maybe it's God's grace. You use that discernment, which is what tapas gives you.
It's all a movement of qualification also.
Yeah, it's...
So many people, there are all kinds of means to qualify in this way.
Yeah, they're all qualifiers, yeah. So in that sense, we can be grateful. Otherwise, it's no point kind of criticizing anything because all that was ever being given to you was from God. The whole thing was God, even right now. God was helping you come closer to God. In fact, I met a lovely student just two weeks ago at Melbourne Cricket Stadium. And she has a child, and through her child she got introduced into Chinmaya Foundation and started to learn for many years. And she says something very touching. She says, I was born in India, and I was somehow, moved into United States, into California, and I met my guru through my child, which is amazing, right? And she said, it's almost like Bhagavan throws me around, puts me into place to place to place to make me closer to him. I was like, wow, what a nice way to put it. Bhagavan is moving me from place to place, and I may not agree with these places, to move from one country to another country, from here to there, but my journey has just been coming closer to Bhagavan all this time. And that really touched me. So in that sense, everything becomes a stepping stone. That's why we can appreciate all of our past teachers who have done so much hard work, right? And sometimes not even putting their names onto any of this material. Yeah. Okay. Now body. Okay, so tapas. What else do we need? We need a body. Do you need a body? Yes. You need a body for moksha. Body is therefore endowed. It's a beautiful instrument that is capable of accomplishing the highest gain in the universe. You are carrying that instrument right now. That's something to be cheerful about, really. Imagine birds are looking at us, and ants. They're like, wow, at least you got a human body. Look at my little body. Oh, don't squash me. We have that body right now that you're sitting with that's capable of literally ascertaining the highest of the highest understanding, accomplishment in the universe, in all worlds, in all time and space. And I want to make sure that body is maximized while we are in Atma Bodha for that very purpose. Okay. Then emotions. Also, mastery of emotions involves, we need to sometimes, reframe things. Emotions are to be seen as indicators. They are Ishvara's indicators that something's off. Something needs to be looked at. Something kind of wants to be, readdressed, reframed. So if we deny what we feel, then we're denying the only indicator that you have that's telling you how to move further in life, how to transform further in life. So as I said yesterday, if we have been taught to suppress our emotions because out of fear of rejection, or that we won't be listened to, it's time to say step one. This was of the past. Now I'm an adult, and I have the full capacity to make the right changes. I have every right to say what I feel. Just like my intellect has the right to be heard, my emotions also have the right to be very well communicated. Because sometimes we feel so open, speaking intellectually about concepts. Open. No, my words are so worthy. But how do you feel? Shut down, okay? So this means we have to give ourselves permission to speak out how you feel, because your emotions are in your mind. Your intellect is in your mind. So now, what gives you the right to deny one and put the other aside? What gives me the right to deny the intellect, accentuate the emotions, or deny the emotions, accentuate the intellect? What gives me the right to do that when the whole thing is one instrument? Therefore, as an adult, we say to ourselves, now that I am grown up, I have every right to speak out what I feel, as much as I have every right to communicate what I think. And self-image. Self-image. Having a self-image involves believing in yourself. My question is, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in yourself?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay, thank you for honesty. Okay. Do I believe in myself that I am capable of understanding this deeply? Do I believe in myself that I can fully become a better human being? Do I believe in myself that I am worthy of this knowledge? Do I believe in myself that I deserve this as much as anyone else? Do I believe in myself that I'm capable of understanding this as clearly as those gurus who I've been looking up to for all this time? Do I believe in myself that I can get equal understanding and clarity and lucidity of this as Buddha, as whoever your guru is that you look up to, as Adi Shankara, as Lord Shiva, as Rama, as Krishna? I believe in you, even if you shake your head no. Why do I believe in you? Because I believe in myself. So naturally I will believe in you. So I want you to now question yourself. Not question, but say, hey, Lord, I have a hard time believing in myself. I don't fully believe in myself. Even though factually I am capable of ascertaining you, knowing myself as you, that we are one. Please give me, Lord Shiva, the strength to be able to come to you. Help me clear up these childhood notions that are keeping me from, that are holding me back and denying me for what I was very much born to understand. Lord Shiva, help me. I have tried everything. I need your help. Please remove whatever blocks there are that are holding me back. I just want to be happy and know you as one. To know you and me as one. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.